advisors, they say, I'm experiencing LinkedIn fatigue. I don't think I can keep doing it. I said, good. I'm going to take your clients.
I can hear you great. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Love it. I dislike a lot when I find out the games are on ESPN versus TNT because I like the halftime and post-game shows so much on the other network.
Have you heard the guy, Danny, I can't think of his last name, doing the Barkley impersonation?
We talking the comedian?
Yeah.
Yes.
He's unbelievable.
Yes. What's his name? Now you got me all.
I know it's Danny. I don't know his last name though.
That's gonna bug me. How are you?
Good, man. You feel good after the workout? Nice and swole?
Nice and swole. Got it out of the way. Got the lawn mowed.
Look at you.
Yeah, this podcast recording lost my whole night, which made me do a lot of my chores in the afternoon.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Are you a Yankee?
I grew up a Yankees fan.
Okay.
What a good question to ask because you saw that cup.
Yeah. I mean, there's not a lot of Yankees fans in Philly, I wouldn't think.
No, I'm not from Philly. I'm from Vermont, and both my parents are from New York. And the Yankees were on the WB network growing up. Yeah. My dad was a Yanks fan. So it was the Yankees, Expos, or Red Sox. I probably should have been, by proximity, an Expos fan. But by following the way of my old man, I went Yankees and enjoyed that, through childhood or whatever. But this is a tough one for a lot of people to swallow. As I matured into an adult, and I've lived here for 15 years now, 17 years, however long I've been in Philly, I was kind of like, why am I a Yankees fan? I've never lived in New York. I have been to games, but outside of that, I have no connection to the team or the city at all. And it was kind of like one of these things I was like, these guys are in my backyard. I go to the games with my kids. They're on TV every night.
Right.
This is why this is odd. And that's where the Sixers thing came from and, so on.
Yeah, I believe a lot of we get so deep rooted in what we like when we're like 14 to 16 years old that you just can't shake it. It's like the music when you're 14 to 16 years old, you probably still like that music.
It's really true. You know what's funny is I don't disagree with that. What I think a lot of it for me was they won so much that as they kept winning, it was like, this isn't like, I don't mean to sound that way. It wasn't fun anymore. There wasn't a whole lot of it was just the big bad Yankees is by the players. Right. And,
things may have been completely different for you had the Expos stayed in Montreal though. Like, I'm just thinking about, we're the same age, and that was like an unbelievably cool team with like Marquise Grissom and Delino DeShields and Larry Walker and Pedro.
Yeah, dude. I mean, they almost won in 94.
It was the year of the strike. They probably would have won if it wasn't for the strike.
Yeah.
Larry Walker may have been the best position player on earth, and Pedro had probably the best season for a pitcher in the modern era.
We used to go to the games. My old man would drive us up. So I'm from northern Vermont, so it was a 2-hour, whatever. Awesome. French speaking, felt like totally weird as a kid. You're up there and it's, but no one gave a shit about baseball.
Yeah. It's a hockey, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. So anyway, guys, welcome to Unfiltered with Corey Keating. We have Nic Nielsen, CFP and co-owner and co-founder of Know My Plan.
Yeah, that's right. I don't even know what we're here to talk about. Did we talk about baseball or business? I mean, where do we even want to go from here? We didn't even talk about that.
I have a nice list of things that we can get into. I noticed you haven't mentioned anything about my cartoon drawings in the background representing tonight's game.
You got some great stuff there. Who's that number 7 there? The picture to me looks like Juwan Howard. I know that's not correct. So
it does look like Juwan Howard. That is supposed to be a big head sketch of Kevin Durant.
That's nice.
And the other one is Giannis. So we're going head to head tonight.
Are you surprised that the Nets are up 2-0?
I'm not surprised they're up 2-0. I'm surprised how they're up 2-0.
Yeah. Without Harden involved.
Well, it's not that. It's the blowouts. Like, what's going? Like, I don't understand. But I mean, look at the Hawks and the fire and the spunk they play with. So I can't be surprised.
The Hawks. Everybody in the Hawks starting lineup has an absolute elite skill.
It's an interesting.
Not necessarily elite players, but every single player in that starting lineup has an elite skill. You have Trae Young, who's probably an elite player. Bogdanovic, elite shooter. Capella, elite block shot.
Capella's going to be – all right, I'm not going to let you slide on Capella, but keep going.
You got John Collins, who's a great 3-and-D long defender guy. Probably your Sixers should have taken him over Fultz, but there's probably about 38 guys they should have taken over Fultz in that draft.
Yes, correct.
And then you got DeAndre Hunter, who's an absolute elite level defender as a 3.
I think I don't know that I'm going to go elite on all these guys. Where I'll go with you is they're a really well-built team. They remind me a lot of I don't know if it was you I texted. I think it was you, the Warriors light, they feel like.
Yeah.
Back in 2013.
Trae is so much like Steph.
Mm-hmm.
And then Bogdanovic is very similar to Clay.
Right. And you don't really have that bad boy Draymond, but you've got guys, Capella and Collins, who can bang the glass.
Mm-hmm. And long.
Yeah. They're fun. They move the ball. They go on runs. We'll see tomorrow night, but I wouldn't say that it's going to be a walk in the park by any means.
No, I was surprised how good the Hawks were because I don't watch NBA regular season. I kind of refuse and then turn it on during the playoffs, and I just have an absolute blast with it.
Yeah, agreed. All right, Nick, let's get into some shit. Introduce yourself a little bit for anyone who listens who doesn't know who you are, what you're about. Give us a 45-second kind of overview.
Yeah, so basically, I'm an artist. I like to draw pictures, and I masquerade as a financial planner. I love working with 38 to 42-year-olds who've reached that complexity curve where life has started to get really complicated, and they've probably traded in their nice 2-door sports car, and they're now driving a minivan, and they have a couple of kids, and they're just bahaing around town trying to get through the Chick-fil-A drive-through to get to baseball practice on time. Life is busy, and in the background they have all this financial complexity. As their careers have advanced, they're now junior level executives or high level sales positions. And all of these things have kind of collided at once. And my goal is to really get them kind of on the boat with us before they have a bad experience with one of these boilerplate type of financial planning firms.
So you're focused on really yourself.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. The best advice I think I ever got early on from a bank manager, he said that, after you've done this for about 10 years, your clients look like you. And if they don't, you're probably not being authentic, or you're missing opportunities. And he was 100% right, because really all of our new clients are really plus or minus 5 years of my age. I'm 39. My business partner is 49. And if you kind of went plus or minus 5 on both of us, I mean, that's all of our new clientele. That's who we're trying to connect with. And that's who kind of is resonating with what
plus or minus 5 on both of us. I covered the entire 54 to 35.
Yeah, we're looking for 14 to 70-year-olds.
That's awesome. Hey, walk me through a little bit. So I'm 39 as well. I don't need the whole backstory, but I'd love to know a little bit about how you got to where you're at. Because you sent me, for everyone listening or watching, Nick and I have become kind of virtual friends over the last I'd say 8 to 10 months through COVID and just kind of chatting and coming together in the same circles frequently. So you sent me a text the other day that was like, AUM in 2017 was 0. And that's not that long ago. So it's not that I want to know where the AUM is today. What I want to know is how you went from like graduating to the idea. I mean, how did you even get into this whole financial thing? Your parents are both teachers. Where did this even happen from and come from?
Yeah. So really what got me into this is I was in sports administration. It was really what my degree was in. I had kind of floated through college. I changed my major a couple times. I was chemical engineering, and I just loved the math, hated the labs. And apparently you actually have to go to the labs to get a degree in engineering. But I think my senior year of college, I met with my grandfather, and he had asked me to look at some of his investment statements and see if he could, if I could help kind of make sense of what was going on here, because his guy didn't really explain anything to him. The only time he ever really received any communication is if he got a phone call and said, "Hey, I want to buy X amount of shares of stock." And so I really just fell in love with it and just dove into it. And it allowed me to use my math skills, which is really what I enjoyed in school. And, my grandfather gave me some great advice. He said, if you understand how money works, you'll be able to take care of your family. You'll probably always have a job, but more importantly, you'll be able to help people. And that really inspired me to go down that financial planner, financial advisor path. I graduated college in 2004, really just as kind of the financial service companies were kind of getting out of the tech bubble. And I had one of my friend's dad was an executive at a local bank, and I started there in a bank training program and kind of grinded through the bank channel for a decade.
You weren't set out to be an advisor. You were just kind of going through the motion of, riding the wave of the progression of the career.
Yeah, no, I wanted to be an advisor, but I mean, nobody would hire me. No experience. And, I remember interviewing with one of the Merrill Lynch guys who said, "Would you like to call the entire phone book?" And I said, "No, sir, not really. That doesn't sound all that good." Like, "Well, tell me about your friends and family. How many of them can become clients?" And I was like, "Well, hopefully not many, sir." So, it was probably the shortest interview of all time. I think I got 3 questions.
But so what are you doing here, kid?
What are you doing if you're not willing to sell to your friends and family and you're not willing to call the entire phone book? So I just kind of grinded through the bank channel and did some strange jobs while I was there in the bank, kind of in a managerial role. And really on the bank side is where I got licensed. So I was kind of had that dual role as both like a licensed banker. So I did loans and opened up checking accounts and helped make sure the ATM balance and all those sorts of things. And that allowed me to meet some really awesome financial advisors who I got just amazing advice from. And I was just in the right place at the right time. And I got amazing, amazing mentorship that you just couldn't get today.
So this sets you on the path. Are you starting to take inventory of where you're at, the structure in which you're at the bank, seeing what else is out there, the other options for advisors? Are you starting to take inventory of that stuff, and your eyes are opening up a little bit about the options you might have?
Yeah. So I lived in Louisville, Kentucky at the time, and I was grinding through. I was like the top producing licensed banker in the company, and I was doing like $20,000 a month in revenue, which was a big number for a licensed banker. Basically, I would do all the business and I would hand all the paperwork off to the financial advisor, and he would sign it and say, "Man, this is awesome. Thank you." And it was right around the time where the bank I was at merged with another bank, and there was just a glut of financial advisors. I mean, literally, there was like 2x the number of advisors that they really needed.
Is this post-recession or before?
This is right after the Great Recession. So this is like, 2010, 2011. And they wouldn't let me take my 7. So, I mean, I was I was 6 and 63. Luckily, I went out and I took my 65 on my own. I didn't have to be sponsored for that. So, I mean, I was teeing up a lot of managed money for our advisors, but I couldn't get compensated on it or anything like that. So I went out and I got my 65 on my own. And got my CFP, went through I did a Friday night, Saturday CFP program. So my branch manager was nice enough to let me off work early. She was awesome. And that was 5 to 9 every other Friday night. And then it was Saturday from like 8 to 5. So I got through that without my wife killing me. And the deal was, if I got my CFP, that the bank would let me take my 7. But that was the only way they'd let me, take my 7, because they knew that as soon as I got my 7, I would probably leave.
Yeah.
But without it, nobody would hire me. So as soon as I got my 7, I got lucky. Once again, I say luck, but the truth is it's divine intervention, is that the bank I was at purchased a bank in the Carolinas. And when they did that, the way the acquisition was structured, that bank in the Carolinas didn't have any financial advisors that came with the deal. So like those branch-based advisors got pushed out. So I was the first advisor that they hired in the Carolinas. And honestly, I never even applied for the position, which is another great story. My wife actually went on to Indeed and built a profile and put my resume on there.
Why? Were you being stubborn about it?
I had never really thought about moving. So she applied to jobs with a company I was with in North and South Carolina and Florida. And I'd gotten a call from a recruiter out of the blue and said, "Hey, I received your resume. Looks great. I hear you're interested in the Carolinas." And I thought I was being punked. I had an interview with her and a phone interview with the hiring manager, and I started like 7 days later. Never really been to the Carolinas before, but it was awesome. I had 194 branches. There was a sales assistant involved, and whenever one of these branches had an investment opportunity, they would call her and she would set an appointment on my calendar. And I had all of North Carolina, all of South Carolina, Virginia Beach area. And I was just like a man with a laptop and a backpack just going all over the Carolinas, meeting with people. It was awesome.
Yeah, you mentioned luck, and then you correct yourself and say divine intervention. And it's, I think it's serendipity, right? We put ourselves in places to have these successes. When you think about that, like my mind immediately goes to like just experience, like all the stuff that happened, all the things you've picked up, all those little interactions, experiences, different, frameworks and foundations that you got tossed into, that all helps build this experience that you and I talked recently about that you can't replicate, right?
Yeah. It's all adding to your toolkit.
Yeah.
And the first advisor that I worked with, he says, the one thing that I would ask is take everything I do that you like, make it better. Take everything that I do that you don't like and throw it away. And when you work with other advisors, do the same thing. And that's how you're going to get better.
Do you think, I don't want to fast forward this whole thing, but as we look at where we're at now and you think about some of the younger advisors getting into the game, how much of a challenge is it for them? Like, how hard is it to break through and have success right out of the jump? Like,
yeah, I mean, it's like a minor league baseball. It's like a major league baseball player. There's very few people who go from college or high school right to the major leagues, and it has nothing to do about skill or ability. It's about at bats.
Yeah.
And I think the hardest thing for a young advisor is just getting at bats, especially independent. I mean, you just don't get as many at-bats unless you're just an absolute, marketing machine, or you just outsource everything to IMCO to make sure you have everything flowing nice and smooth.
I don't even think that's advisor though, only. That's just career.
It's life. Yeah, it's life, right? To become a professional, you got to put in thousands of hours into it. And going back, I had a wonderful branch manager. She's now retired. Her name is Janice Lawrence. But during one of my reviews, I had made a statement that my goal was to be the best financial advisor in the country. And she said, "Well, we're going to make sure that you are." And she literally set in on every single one of my appointments for a year. And she took Procopius notes. And after every single meeting, she would debrief. We're talking, 8 to 10 meetings a day in a bank. And she'd have pages of notes. Man, when you talk to Mrs. Burns, when you said this, did you see you see her body language? And did you see how she leaned back in the chair when you said that? Or, did you see how Mr. Smith got excited when you started to talk about this? So it was like a year long of just being refined. And, the first few months I couldn't stand it. I despised her.
Of course, yeah.
I mean, I have pretty thick skin from playing sports and stuff, but nobody likes being critiqued, 8 hours a day. But then after a few months, I could see that I was getting better, like noticeably better. And I'm like, I see what she's doing. And then after a year, she's like, you're the best banker I've ever worked with. She's like, you're ready to fly. And I wouldn't be successful if it wasn't for her.
You've kind of led this into a conversation that I want to have with you, and it's less about the details of being an advisor, more about the kind of the higher level view of being just a really high operating business owner or professional. One of the things I know about you is you care a lot about your business and where it goes. There's not a lot of coasting going on. I mean, right?
Oh, absolutely. It's hard to turn it off.
Yeah. So tell me about the internal energy you have for the business. I want to know how much you're really thinking about this thing. How deep. I'm serious. Like, cause I say this, and I don't mean for anyone listening or watching to take any offense to this if this hits home with you, but I feel like there's a lot of people that think this shit comes easy. And I think there's a lot of people that think like it can be a 9-to-5, or if I just put a few of the things in place, it all works out. And I don't think that's the case. And when I find successful people like you, I like to dig in and learn about how you hone your craft and do offline homework and continue to educate yourself and put in the unquantifiable hours and work that it takes to do something that takes you to the next level. And I want to lean in on that and understand where your mind goes based on what I just said.
So first of all, it never feels like work, right? I've never had to work. Like this is fun. Not only is it fun, it's like every day's vacation. It's like a little kid going to Disney for the first time.
How long have you felt like that?
From the beginning. I loved it.
Even the time when the paycheck was not where you wanted it to be.
Loved it more, maybe. I just loved it. I loved helping people. I loved the stories. I loved, I'll tell you really where the deep love came from. Really starting, I think I first got licensed in 2006. And so being in a bank from 2007 to 2009, there would literally be people, I kid you not, 35, 40 people during the height of the Great Recession in a bank lobby, the size of like a Subway sandwich shop. And because they were predominantly annuity business was done in the banks at that time. And the predominant annuity carrier at the bank where I worked was AIG.
Dude, Hartford, I worked at Hartford during this whole thing. It was almost out of business.
So what I enjoyed was the terrifying people that were coming in who thought their money was gone, who thought that, AIG is bankrupt. Oh my goodness, I have all my life savings in this AIG fixed annuity. And no, the money is there. And not only is it there, it's earning 3.5% or 4%. And every bit of it's protected. And I don't say that as like a proponent of annuities or anything like that, but it was the sense of relief when you explained to them kind of what they own and why they owned it. I was like, wow, this is awesome. Like I completely changed this person's day or this person's life. But I loved it from the jump. To answer your question, it never felt like work, even during like the trying times. But, from the moment I get up until I go to bed, like it's all I think about. Like when I'm working out, I'm listening to podcasts. If I have downtime, I'm reading a book, I'm on LinkedIn. I'm looking at other people's social media. I'm researching what people who are the top at YouTube. I research what they're doing. I think, I like this. I don't like this. I think with my style, I could do this better, or, this is really cool, but it's just not going to work for me. I mean, it's all I think about. I have to be intentional to turn it off to spend time with my kids or to do other things. Like if I'm not intentional about doing other stuff, I mean, I'll do it every waking minute of the day.
Yeah, it bleeds in. I didn't know how you would answer that. I had a feeling that you would answer it that way. And it's one of the reasons I really can connect with you, because I don't, there's no sense of BS that I'm very in tune with someone just telling me shit that they think I want to hear. And I don't sense that at all. And one of the things I connect with is that's how I hone my craft. When I'm not texting back and forth with you, or when I'm watching something on YouTube in the background that's going to make me a better marketer. I have to be intentional about shutting off. And I ask that too, because I think there's a lot, and I think this happens in the real estate industry as well. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like there's a lot of people that get into it because they think there's a lot of dollars in being a financial advisor or a real estate agent. And once they hit a level, they can plateau. And that plateau creates some level of angst with me. I don't know why. Because if I don't care how much money you make, I love the idea that you keep grinding and want to better yourself and grow and do something. It's not about the money, and that I think is what is attractive.
Yeah, I mean, I was really blessed that my parents probably instilled some really healthy financial habits. My parents had incredibly good financial habits as teachers, but at the time when I left being a banker, I believe my salary was $38,000, and with comp, I was probably making $50,000, and my parents were just sick. Like, you making $50,000 a year? Do you know how lucky you are to make $50,000 a year? Are you sure you want to give that up to go, commission only, to start at zero? It's like, yeah, absolutely. I'm excited.
God, I remember those days. Man.
But when I was making $38,000, I always had enough. I had a great backstop that I felt like I could take more risks because I knew that my parents would help me as well. I mean, I know that sounds, a little bit privileged or whatever, but the truth is the truth. My parents had no debt. They've never had debt a day in their life. When I think at one point when my dad built our log cabin that we grew up in, I think he was absolutely like disgusted at himself that he had to refinance a car for like $6,000 to finish the house. So I think he actually had a car note for a couple of months. But besides that, I grew up, my parents never had debt. And for me to give up a target comp job of $50,000, they thought I was just absolutely crazy.
The gambler.
The riverboat gambler. But it's not about the money. It's never been about the money. The money's great. I'm not motivated by money. I'm motivated by getting better, to help more people, because regardless of the amount of money that it is, it's allocated for me. I don't really think about it. Everything goes into percentages here or there, and it is what it is. And once you start managing hundreds of millions of dollars, money kind of gets, I won't say numb to you, but it's not as important. Once you have enough, you're just striving to get better at your craft.
Nick, walk me through the last 18 months of your professional life. And for those listening and watching who don't know why I might ask that, it's, COVID forcing people online, coinciding with you finding a rhythm and a talent behind, sketching out complex things and making them simple for people. Those two things collided.
Yeah. So in September of 2017, we left the bank. The primary reason was that we wanted to be able to create our own content. We wanted to market our own way. It took us, 2.5, 3 years to find our footing. But once we kind of when I kind of just took control and started doing the daily sketches, I had no idea how it would work out or if it would work at all. And quickly, within a couple of weeks, we got our first client from it. And I was just completely shocked by that. And from there, it's just continued to pick up steam. Very humbled by it. Been very blessed. But I didn't want to do stuff that was salesy. I'm the worst salesperson ever. Like, that's why my parents were so concerned about going into something where I had to sell. Whenever we would do like different drives in school, we had to sell candy bars or whatever. Like, I was the worst. Like a school of a couple hundred kids, I finished dead last because I hated sales. I mean, I was so bad at selling, like my grandparents wouldn't buy a candy bar.
The baseball box you got full of the caramel.
Exactly. The world's best chocolate bars or whatever. And I couldn't sell one. Literally the worst. And they could not believe that I wanted to go into something that was sales based, or what they thought was sales based, but it's solely about relationships. It's the only thing that matters. But yeah, the last 18 months has just been rocket fuel, better than we ever thought it could be. Just kind of the concept of dollars and diagrams, taking the questions that we hear prospects and clients ask and try to noodle that out in a quick sketch that hopefully answers a question for somebody out there, kind of that ideal avatar.
Do you sit back ever? Well, I know you do. You're human. So I just want to know how real you'll be with me about it. When you sit back, or you and your wife are hanging out at the countertop and the kids are eating dinner or whatever, are you ever like, honey, you wouldn't believe the amount of people that are now sketching on LinkedIn?
It's wild. It's great, man. It's so cool. It's like a whole genre of social media right now, or at least
what kind of feeling comes with that? I don't think I know you as a person. I don't think you're gonna be like, you're not a jealous kind of person. I assume, and you're flattered by it, but that's got to be kind of a funky thing that crosses your mind every once in a while.
Yeah, it's weird. Sometimes I get jealous because I'm like, man, these guys can do more than just draw geometric shapes. Like there's a couple guys that can like really draw. I have no
cornucopia.
I know I have no art skills whatsoever. Like, I draw a pretty nice triangle, pretty decent circle, but some of these guys can really, really draw. And I think it's cool. I love the fresh ideas. I mean, I think the two biggest influences that I have is, Carl Richards, and I'm always scared to death I'm going to plagiarize him. So I flip through his books all the time to make sure that I'm not subconsciously doing something I shouldn't do.
Which then subconsciously makes you
makes it more likely. Yeah. And then, Nick Murray. So I'm taking a lot of Nick Murray concepts and trying to draw pictures out, which I think he's just the absolute GOAT. Is just the best.
When you think about all of it, what's next? What is drawing something that is a staple that continues forever? Do you expand your toolkit? Is what's on the horizon for you? Care to share anything that you're thinking about?
Yeah, so I think it's always about evolving. You can never step in the same river twice. So yeah, I will continue to draw. So right now I'm working on a book, trying to bring those doodles to life a little bit. And maybe if it's nothing else, maybe it's a medium to reach more people that I otherwise wouldn't reach. Maybe the only people who buy it are my parents. And if that happens, that's okay too, but I'll sell at least 2 copies probably. But
how much, let me interrupt you there. How much do you think about it in terms of sales versus I'm just creating, this is going to be one awesome piece of pillar content?
Pillar content, baby.
Yeah.
Yeah. My dream would be I give the book away. Maybe someone pays shipping and handling. Want the book? Give me $6.95 for shipping and handling. I'll send you the book, whatever the case might be. No intent to make money on the book, but I think it's a great business card. I think it's a great kind of greatest hits collection. But the best clients that I get are when I get them from LinkedIn and they say, I've read everything you've written. I've seen all your videos. I'm ready to be a client. They're already on board. Like enough of our process is out there and they feel like they know me. And then I'm kind of interviewing them. So like the book is number one. And then the goal is then to take that book and kind of dissect it and create some short YouTube videos for each one of those pictures that's in the book. And that's really like the next wave for me. I think YouTube is probably the most powerful platform on earth. If it's not the most powerful, it's the second most powerful behind Google. But that company is what you got to dominate as soon as possible to be relevant.
I mean, you and I chat about this stuff offline all the time. So and this isn't, you're not repeating yourself. I know where your head's at with a lot of it, but I love digging into it. I feel like you're thinking through on a higher level all the progressions and steps that need to be put in place. And I wonder what you would tell another advisor who would come to you for marketing help, what you would tell them, or business help, right? Growth help. I'm stuck. I've plateaued. How would you coach them through that? Because I feel like, and I'll tell you this, running a consulting service for financial advisors, I hear a lot of, well, I just wish I could bring in clients the way he says he does. It doesn't work like that for me. I don't know why. Does he really bring them in? Like, this just seems crazy. It seems like I'm just talking to an echo chamber all the time. And I'm referencing LinkedIn here, but I'd love to know what you would tell. What would you tell some of these guys that feel like they're stuck? And then you're sitting here and you're like, well, shit, man, I'm writing a book with all my stuff. And then after that, I'm going to create content around each of the pages that's going to live forever on one of the most heavily trafficked websites in the world. Like, you're 3 steps ahead. Yeah,
we haven't even talked about we haven't even talked about QR codes or anything, or in my door knocking,
right?
Which I personally think it could be a game changer. So the number one thing, and you have to get the avatar right. You have to. Like, if you don't speak to a consistent avatar, it confuses everybody. That's the feedback that I give people the most. Like, all right, you say you're in a big metropolitan area and you want to work with tech founders in their 30s. Cool. I go to your website. The first thing I see is 2 65-year-olds holding hands with a sailboat in the background and an ad for Medicare. I'm not a tech guy, but my guess is if I'm a 30-something tech founder, that website probably doesn't hit home for me. So I think there's just too big of a disconnect from who you say you want to work with to who your website says you work with. In a case like that, you'd almost be better just killing the website.
Certainly. I feel like people give the old head nod to that conversation, and then they get back to the office and it's too overwhelming to break the whole thing down. So
right.
It continues.
I think if you have an avatar, it makes everything easier, right? You're starting with the answer key, right? You're not guessing the questions to the test. You literally have the answer key. Who are your avatar? Pull out their client profile and whatever CRM you use. Look at the things that you solve for. You back out. Okay, we did life insurance. We opened a 529 plan. We talked about their stock options. We talked about traditional versus Roth, what made the most sense for them. Well, I mean, that's like 8 content pieces right there, just answering the questions that were already asked to you. I think that's a heck of a lot easier than trying to be the shotgun that's trying to cover every possible client scenario. Like, just get super laser focused. If I was brand new to the business and had never done this before, I would go super, super niche, even more specific than like next gen executives. It would be, people born in 1982 who preferred Sega over Nintendo, who are medical device sales executives, like super, super niche. And with LinkedIn, 90% of that's possible. And then maybe you send out a poll. Do you prefer Sega and Nintendo on LinkedIn? I know you love polls. You take your Sega people and you just hit them over the head with Sonic the Hedgehog references. Joe Montana football versus, Tecmo Bowl.
I've still not participated in a poll to date, and I'm proud of it.
Yeah. No, but I just don't think people. I just don't think people want to do the work, and the work's not that hard. It's really not. What I do is not hard. It takes a little bit of time, but it's not hard. I keep this little bitty notebook with me. It's like a 5x7 deal, and all the client questions that I've been asked this year are in this book, along with just random noodles on thoughts that I have around questions that I could answer.
What I think is going to happen is people sit on the sidelines too long, and this, I don't want to call it the last one, but the internet's mature. Social media is very mature. And one of these last major platforms will no longer be as organic as it is. And this isn't doomsday, but what happens then?
Yeah. Hey, we know what really excites me about LinkedIn. And I got this thought today, and I haven't had a chance. I was going to call you today and talk to you about it, but
I would have hung up on you. You kept trying to step on this interview all week long.
I'm going to save this because I think this is good, and I got really excited about this today. I've had 6 people. It's either 6 or 7 within the past 3 days. Advisors, they say, I'm experiencing LinkedIn fatigue. I don't think I can keep doing it. I said, good. I'm going to take your clients.
You actually said this?
Yeah.
Or you thought it?
No, I told them that. I said, good. More for me. Because the clients are there.
And their reaction was, what was the reaction?
Yeah, I don't know about that. I mean, I guess I can keep doing it. I'm like, no, if you stop doing it, I'm going to take your clients. That's just the bottom line. If you get 1 client a month from LinkedIn and you disappear, I might be the next man up. So thank you. The more people that get LinkedIn fatigue, the more that I'm going to win, the more that everybody is going to win who commits to it.
Walk me through the LinkedIn fatigue. Is this because, look, this is my podcast, but you're the guest. I don't want to answer the questions. I assume I could take a stab at it, but I wanted to hear it from you. What is LinkedIn fatigue?
I think people have got on LinkedIn and end up spending their entire day on it during the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that they're like, I can't be spending 6 to 8 hours on LinkedIn anymore. This is ridiculous. But they don't know how to do it more efficiently.
What the hell are they doing all day long?
They're just waiting. They're waiting for a notification. I'm telling you, I kid you not. They're hooked on the juice. And these people are saying, I can't do it anymore. I got to get off LinkedIn. I said, you get off LinkedIn, but just know I'm taking your client. That medical device sales the guy that you want, the guy that I want, if you're gone, that's my client.
Are they not using it properly? Is that can we cut the shit and get to it? Is that what the problem is?
I think most people are pretty good at it. I think most people, I think most people in my network are doing it pretty similar to what I'm doing, posting every day or close to it. I think most of the content's as good or better than what I'm doing.
And why aren't they succeeding?
And I think they are, but maybe at a little bit slower pace. I think I got a little bit of a head start because I think I got at it faster, quicker. And I think the velocity of this really matters. But man, I got really excited. Today about hearing about LinkedIn fatigue. I may not be fast, but I can outlast.
I think you're discounting or being humble about the devil's in the details here, about the actual content. Content that matters.
I agree. I think mine is a lot simpler. I think sometimes financial planners try to show off how smart they are. And I just don't have that ability. I'm just a country kid from Southern Indiana. It is what it is. I try to make it simple, but I think people want simple. Everybody has enough complexity in their life. If you can give them something in 2 sentences or 3 sentences and they're like, aha, that makes sense. They answered that question. I don't need the white paper. That 3 sentence answer was clear to me.
So I think you just answered the question.
Yeah. It's not smart. It's simple, but simple is what people want. So I think the ultimate thing is a lot of financial advisors post content the way that they would tell other financial advisors about something. But they're speaking to other financial advisors about speaking to the end user, that you want to be the end user.
That's basically the crux of why I poked you for a second there, is when I put out content as a marketer, I don't put it out to impress my fellow marketers. I put it out to make it so that it resonates with someone like yourself. When I see you post content and share content, whether that's going to be on LinkedIn or YouTube in the future or wherever, your goal is not to impress the CFP down the road.
Absolutely.
Your goal is to catch me and my neighbor's attention.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I know, is it your brother or brother-in-law who's in medical device sales?
My brother, 35, medical device sales. He's not quite your avatar yet. He doesn't have the kids, and he's
No
still
minivan. Yeah.
No minivan. No, has probably a life I'm a little jealous of, with the golf club membership, and just goes on trips as often as he wants. And
it's hard work, though. I'm telling you, those guys and gals in medical device sales, they work hard, long hours, quota.
Yeah, I don't feel bad for him.
I sent you the worst social media post of all time today.
You did?
I mean, it was written by a CFP, CFA, maybe CPA trio. I think he was the holy trinity of trios. And I mean, as a fellow CFP, it was so complex, I couldn't even make sense of it.
That's an industry thing. That's not just an advisor thing. I come from the other side of the business, the wholesale side, but everybody wants to flex on how smart they are.
Right.
And that's the last thing people want to consume when they're trying to take their mind off of work.
Yeah. Simplicity.
One of the great ironies is you're saying you're talking to advisors who are getting LinkedIn fatigue. And I'm doing nothing more than telling anyone from the asset management world that will listen to get their butt in gear and get into the feed where all the fish are.
Yeah.
And you guys are getting bored and want to leave.
Well,
they demonize it still. It's, it's not the traditional way. They can't measure it. It's unquantifiable. They don't know where the business comes in. They let lawyers and compliance, put the hammer down, and then they don't look twice. There's a million reasons. They'll jump in eventually. It'll be too late.
You know what the sad thing is many of the wholesalers in the asset management space are phenomenal. I mean, there are some absolute A++ storytellers in that group.
Mm-hmm.
And nobody hears their story, and nobody can tell their story better than their wholesalers. But the asset management space is so weird to me, because they have a lot of them. They would have almost what I would call the infinity bucket when it comes to the money they have access to. And you couldn't write a more poorly written email than most that come out from a corporate asset manager, from a high level. And then the poor voicemails that they leave are unbelievable. I can't even believe really that they're cold calling in 2021. It's a hard deal.
The whole thing's broken. I mean, we could do another hour on that, which I don't really want to do, but we could.
Unleash the wholesalers. Get them on LinkedIn telling stories. Those guys and gals are terrific.
Why just the wholesalers? Like, I think about the whole friggin' business. If you've got 1,000 people that work at your mutual fund company and you don't let any of them use social media, this isn't about using it professionally, but especially on LinkedIn, everyone's going to know where you work. And if you have a cool voice and message and you're always putting out cool stuff, that makes the business pretty attractive to somebody.
Everybody knows within any organization, you have at least 5% of that organization. It would probably be incredible on camera, and everybody's on mute, to use your term. Why would you mute incredible storytellers, incredible personalities, people who have that great gift to share and bring the story to life?
Don't you think that there's some insecurity and protectionism going on?
Of course. Yeah.
I'm not going to, my subordinate is going to jump on camera and they've got 2,000 views. What if my boss sees that?
Right.
They're all incentivized to say no, from the top down. Even the CEO, it's, rarely, the CEO is incentivized because, God forbid, compliance has scared him or her to no end, that God forbid someone says something out of bounds on social, that the stock price, the whole thing blows up. So it's just everyone's scared to death, and it trickles downhill.
If Jeff Bezos can do some of the things that he's done and it not affect Amazon's stock price, I think I'd be willing to roll the dice that a portfolio manager could talk on social media for 2 minutes without doing anything too crazy.
I agree. I think this is where, no one's going to put the top 50 firms out of business, but I think this is where the smaller firms have a real advantage. I really believe that. Like when I think of the Stacey Haveners of the world who's working with these boutiques, I think a lot about, man, these slingshot shooters, the $5 to $15 billion firms who can really get in the trenches and move quick. There's some real opportunity to get in front of you guys through this stuff. And I think about that all the time, and, we'll see if they take advantage of it.
Yeah. I mean, it's a lot cooler to be the speedboat as opposed to being the Titanic.
For sure. Yeah. We're not going to see Franklin Templeton tomorrow roll out some unworldly, human campaign that is like, whoa, we're not going to see that. All right. Well, we got a few more minutes. How long does LinkedIn last, in your opinion? The organic before we're on a paid platform.
Yesterday, I would have told you definitely less than 5 years. I think we're in the end times of it. But today,
I have to pause you. That's like the craziest thing I've ever heard, because are you about to say today was way different?
Today changed my mind.
What happened this morning?
I'm completely convinced that I can be the last man standing in this.
Are you saying that because I felt this morning, some algorithm unlock that my voice was going way farther than it should have been going?
Today was a major shift. I'm telling you.
Why?
The LinkedIn fatigue thing, I think, is going to drive advisors out. I don't know that they have the endurance to do what it takes, posting 5 days a week, good stuff. And that's what it takes. I mean, let's be real. That is what it takes. You have to have really good stuff that you're delivering multiple times, because your avatar is probably not hanging out on LinkedIn quite as much as you are, for better or for worse. And you got to keep putting it out there. And, I might talk about Roth, all things Roth 180 times during the course of the year, but that might be what it takes for somebody to see it once or twice.
So you're basing what you're saying off of nothing to do with what I just said, the algorithm. You're basing it off these messages that you randomly received.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I think advisors are going to give up. I think they're going to get frustrated. I think they're not going to have the instantaneous success that I did, and I think they're going to leave. But
I wonder if the summer helps drive that out too.
Yeah, more fun stuff to do.
Yeah, you're not sitting at home and the computer. It's like you're out.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm excited about it. I do think it's going to be pay to play, though. I really do. I don't think the organic reach is going to work quite the same as it has the past 18 years. I think LinkedIn is going to let people like me kind of get hooked on the juice. Like, hey, this LinkedIn thing's been pretty good for Nick. If he wants to continue reaching people, the organic reach ain't going to be kind of what it used to. It's going to maybe turn into Facebook.
Yeah, I think I have no idea what I'm basing this on, but I believe LinkedIn will take a snapshot based on tiers and allow them to continue to run. And I think 85% and under will get, I don't know where the cutoff is, but I think 80, right. I think there's going to be a cut like golf.
Yeah. And I just hope I make it. I'm gonna, to kind of go to the Kevin Costner analogy in the movie The Guardian, where he's the Coast Guard rescue swimmer. I'm just going to swim as hard as I can for as long as I can and let the ocean take the rest. I'm going to be there every day. I'm going to be posting my content, going to be trying to make it relatable to my ideal people. And hopefully I help a lot of people in the process.
I love it. You've got the Woods internet going on now.
Oh, all right.
I think no problem.
I hit a button on my computer accidentally. All right, hold on. Coming back.
You're back.
All right.
As we wrap up here, what's something fun you would share with people watching, listening, that folks might not know about you? Piercings, tattoos, any interesting hobbies you might have?
Yeah, so I showed up at a client's house recently wearing a short sleeve shirt, and the wife started laughing. She's like, I was convinced you had like a sleeve on your arms because you were so clean cut and you always wore the long sleeve shirts. I thought for sure you were all tatted up. No tattoos, no piercings. I played college baseball. I was adopted. My wife and I, we've adopted 3 awesome kiddos from South Korea. I love collecting basketball and baseball cards. My first pack of basketball cards I ever opened was 89 Fleer. Got a beautiful Jordan card in there. Addicted to it ever since, man. I love junior college basketball. Junior college basketball is my love language. If I wasn't in the financial planning thing, I would 100% be all in as a junior.
How did you get into JUCO basketball? Like, how does that even happen?
It's the best, man. You try it, you get hooked on the sauce, you'll never leave. I grew up in a small town with a junior college, and Sean Marion went to my hometown, who played in the NBA for a long time in the Matrix. He was at our house, dunked on the basketball goal at my house. Eric Williams, who played on the Celtics, and I think he's probably most noted that I think his wife was in Basketball Wives, the television show, and Eric was on there. But great guy. Tyrone Nesby, who played on the Clippers and went to UNLV. So I got to meet these guys and spend time with them. And my dad and I traveled a lot, went to games in Missouri and Iowa and all through Illinois growing up, and Cumberland, Maryland, watching the Allegheny Trojans. Went out to the national tournament. But, man, we just fell in love with it. It's something that my dad and I did. He taught at a local junior college, and it's just kind of a thing that we've fallen in love with. My parents still follow it. We watch as many junior college basketball games as we can.
Now, I've watched a little JUCO, and the one thing for folks who aren't familiar, correct me if I'm wrong, this is the high flying game, right? The fast pace, up and down the court, dunks, some athleticism. It's not as structured per se as the majors.
Yeah, especially in the Midwest, especially in the Northeast, where there's not as many of the premier junior college programs, and it harkens out close to you. And when I was growing up, Allegheny was like the big team. Steve Francis went there, went on to play at University of Maryland, then played in the NBA for a good bit. But yeah, generally it was a faster paced game. That's kind of changed now. Some of the best basketball coaches in the world are in junior college right now. And some of these guys kind of get stuck there and labeled as JUCO guys. And once they've kind of got that label as a JUCO guy, they're pretty much lifers. But 2 of my young friends got their first D1 jobs this year. Got a buddy who took a job at Coastal Carolina as an assistant coach. You got to feel terrible for him down in Wilmington. Just slumming it. And then then I got a buddy who got a job at Northern Illinois. So super excited for those guys. And, I get to live vicariously through them. My buddy who I went to college with, Kyle Smith Peters, he coaches John A. Logan in Carterville, Illinois. They had one of the first junior college kids to get drafted in a long, long time, Jay Scrubb by the Clippers. He didn't get to play a lot this year, but he played the last few games and just has a really big upside. So it's just fun to kind of live vicariously through those guys. And I talk to them quite a bit.
That's a crazy hobby. I like that. I guess I sound off base then by saying it was high flying. I'm going back a little ways, but I remember.
Traditionally, it can be just blazing, especially in the Northeast. The games can go blazing fast. Not a lot of defense played. Really, it's the entire East Coast. you get into more what I would call the blue blood traditional junior college basketball programs. It's going to be more similar of watching a game, in like the Big 10 or the Big 12, which is going to be more structured, more defense based. But, all the college basketball has changed with these transfer portal rules, and the game's getting older. You got a lot of the big Division I programs that aren't even really recruiting kids out of high school anymore. They're just living in the transfer portal and taking junior college kids. So you have a lot of kids who normally would have gone from high school to a Division I are now going to to JUCO or to a prep school for a year. So the game's gotten older. Instead of 17, 18, 19-year-old kids, it's 20, 21, sometimes 22-year-olds in JUCO. And you're seeing more men at the Division I level, which makes it a lot harder for 18-year-old kids coming out of high school to compete at the Division I level unless they are the elite, kind of surefire one and done type kids.
Yeah. Has the G League and any of the developmental leagues changed any of this landscape at all? People have choices.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's a great thing. I don't think every kid's meant to go to college. And, there's certain kids with certain skill sets. Some of the big kids that are five guys, they're going to be much better spending 5 hours a day just on their physical development, doing the yoga, doing the weight training, getting their body right. You got one chance to do this and do it right. And, the best chance they have is to get their body and mind as strong as possible to endure what they got to endure to be a professional athlete, because it is not nearly as glamorous as people think it is. And I mean, God bless those kids going through the G League. That is not an easy thing, but 5 or 6 hours for those kids doing that every day is exactly where they need to be, instead of in classes that they don't want to be a part of.
Yeah. I've always thought and wondered why the NBA wouldn't lift that one and done thing and make, if you're not of a certain age, you can be drafted, but you can't play. And I say that because a lot of guys, frankly, aren't men quite yet, but the team would draft them because they see the potential. And I think there's a ton that would be learned traveling with the NBA team, using the facility, the equipment, the training, the health, the wellness, all those things would be so much more valuable to you than sitting in, at Duke for a year, knowing you're out. You don't care after finals in December, you're not going to class again anyways.
No, you're a big NBA guy, Corey, and you know the game a lot better than I do, but I mean, to me, it is a man's game.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, there are not a lot of rookies who come in.
Well,
right?
Put on TNT right now in the playoffs. You're not seeing 19-year-olds bang.
No, I mean, but if you have like Jay Scrubb, I'll use him as an example. He signed with University of Louisville out of high school, and by his own admission, not the maybe made the most mature choices. Junior college was great for him, helped him mature, but he had a foot injury earlier in the year. He was a second-round draft pick. But he got to sit behind Kawhi Leonard and Paul George while he worked out and rehabbed. I mean, what was better than that for a guy who wants to be all in on being a professional basketball player? I mean, I don't know exactly where his career is going to go from here, but I mean, what an amazing year of tutelage just to watch and learn from Kawhi and Paul George as a 6'7" wing kid. I mean, I think that's amazing. He's not ready for the main stage today, but 2 or 3 years, I think he will be. And I think he will have an advantage from being in the NBA and being in that circle and behind those mature veterans, as opposed to being around other 20 and 21-year-old kids.
My thing with it is free markets and meritocracy. Like, if an NBA team wants to sign you, like, I don't understand this. Force them to go to Kentucky for a year. That just doesn't seem to make sense to me. But
yeah, I like how Major League Baseball does it. You can get drafted out of high school, and if you decide to go Division I, you gotta stay 3 years. You can go to junior college, and you could get drafted right out of junior college. So if you're on the fence about, I might want to go after my freshman year, go to a great junior college for a year. But if you go Division I, you got to be there 3 years. So, but I love the idea that if you're ready and that's what your family needs. That's what you need. And the money is there. Go for it. I mean, that's life-changing money for a lot of people in the high rounds.
Probably most people now. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I'm all for it. I love the NBA. And I think the NBA is such an underrated and underappreciated sport right now, more so than all the other sports. Because when you turn on the playoffs, when these guys are going at it, like wanting to win, these guys are so good. These guys are so – I think they're better now than they've ever been.
Yeah, I'd co-sign that.
I mean, the elite guys, the Jordans, the Magics, the Birds, they would be great in any generation. But when you look at how good these 6, 7, 8 guys are, they're amazing.
There is no way the majority of the 4s and 5s could have played today. Like, I'm sorry, Bill Laimbeer ain't stretching out to cover a guy.
The stretch 4 has maybe it's the Kevin Durant-ism. Kevin Durant completely changed the game forever.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe more so than any player who's ever played basketball.
Yeah, that 19-footer was deadly.
Yeah, which is a blessing and a curse for every college coach, America, because every kid thinks they're Kevin Durant, and they just want their 6'9", 6'10" kid to get in the post, right, and get on the block and score me a basket. But, the Kevin Durant who looks so smooth with the ball, who moves like a 6-footer, who shoots like Bird, passes like Magic, every big kid that's in junior college wants to be Kevin Durant, and that's not everybody's skill set, but he is the great hope for everybody.
You and I are really blessed in the sense of just as fans, we grew up as kids watching the great era, like the Dream Team, right? So we watched that era, and then we went through school and we were tuned out and didn't really, we missed, the what was the era, just after Iverson with, who were the guys on the Wizards? Gilbert Arenas, that whole crazy era, right? There's NBA kind of fell off for a while. And now we're adults getting to experience the second real generation, the second wave of just extreme talent.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like these Hall of Famers come in chunks for whatever reason, right? Like the Dream Team era, everybody on the Dream Team, ex-Leitner is a Hall of Famer, bar none. Today there's in the game right now, I bet there's 15 guys who end up in the Hall of Fame.
Oh yeah, he's probably over that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, how many
3 of them are on the Nets?
Right. How many eras of basketball has there been that much concentration of great players? I mean, it's historic. I mean, think of how good the guards are today. Like, who are the best 4 guards in basketball? Like you can't name 4. There's like 10 guys who you think are amazing.
My brother got all excited after the Hawks, and he's probably rubbing it into me, right? Beat the Sixers, whatever. He got all excited, firing off text. Trey's one of the top players in the league. And I was like, all right. I sent him a message and I listed like 25 guys. And it's not that I don't think Trey's super talented, but I was like, this is how deep the league is. Like, chill.
Yeah, and like to your point, like how do you differentiate, guy number 3 from guy number 20? There's not a lot,
No, but you can't forget the Devin Bookers, the Dame Lillards. Like, there's a lot of these guys out there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, droves of them. My guy Ja, I love Ja. I mean, the Pelicans really, really messed that up. They're going to regret that. Taking Zion, the Zion, that one's going to hurt, I think, 10 years from now. But,
I hope not, but I think he's a hell of a player, Ja.
Yeah. And Luka? Yeah, I mean, Luka's unbelievable.
Luckily, Trey's making Atlanta not regret that one as bad, but yeah.
It's like one of the only trades in NBA history that's going to work out really well for both teams, and I think both teams are going to have their generational player.
Yeah, but even like, again, I go through this list of people. It's like Tatum, right? There's a lot of really good players that people sleep on. They forget, like Bradley Beal, Donovan Mitchell, Jamal Murray. There's a lot of guys out there.
Now, how do you feel? You dodged this question. You dodged it once some. You'll see if you dodge it twice. How do you feel about the Jazz color scheme?
Like, I don't mind it.
I I'm okay that they got away from like the white and purple Stockton Malone.
Oh my God, please. Yes, absolutely.
I think it's the best modern uniform that's out there. I think it's really fun and exciting.
I don't think I dodged it. I think this is what happens. You ask me questions around this time of night.
I have probably 6 in a row.
And I can hear my dog barking to go out, and this happens this time of night every night. So you'll happen to hit me with a question, and then I don't get back to my phone for 15 minutes, and then we're on to something else.
Fair enough. I wish the Nuggets would bring back the old school. I want the Alex English jerseys.
Who are we talking about?
The Nuggets. I want to see the Joker in the old school Denver Nugget Alex English jersey.
I want to see the Joker in better shape.
You think he has a 6-pack and smokes a cigarette at halftime?
I don't think he eats well.
Not a lot of salmon happening for the Joker?
No, I don't think the Joker's eating a lot of fish.
He's amazing though, man.
Yeah, he's super talented for sure.
Incredible.
What else we got? Let's wrap this up. We're getting into 20 minutes of NBA.
Corey, appreciate the opportunity as always. This was definitely unfiltered. You're the best. Wish you continued success, man.
No, man, you as well. Thanks for joining. Thanks for chatting. I'm sure we'll talk again.
So, hope this isn't the end of our friendship.
Yeah, I doubt it.
I'd say, brother.
All right.